o'clock. So sometimes you'll hear something on here and you may want to listen to this again and watch it again, and it will be available for you to do so. Okay? Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Some other names that come up. Okay. Okay, somebody needs someone who just came on needs to mute their phone because of the background noise is interfering. Okay, there we go. That's better. All right, as we proceed, please remember to mute your speakers until you wish to make a comment, most especially if you are dealing with background noise. Reducing the background noise helps both the fact that we are recording this webinar for the ease of hearing one another, and also because we want that recording to be able to be audible when people go in to listen to it. If it is very quiet where you are probably okay, and you do not need to worry about muting. Today you'll have an opportunity to learn about and practice classifying evaluation inquiries into the 4 levels of evaluation. Feel free to also access the identified pages in your FET handout. Our roadmap for today's webinar is pretty straightforward and to the point. We are going to define, describe, and work with the 4 levels of evaluation. Prior to logging on to this webinar, in the online introduction to evaluation, you were introduced to the purpose of evaluation, and you reviewed some pros and cons of conducting evaluation, and you posted 3 or 4 ways to collect evaluation data that either you have used in your recent training sessions or that you have experienced in workshops that you have attended. What do you remember doing regarding evaluation during our face-to-face training? Anybody?
So I remember that we did the evaluation before the very end of the training, so we had time to write and then come back together as a group.
That is true, and it's not the very last thing that we do. That's also very true. But at our face-to-face training, what activity did we do where we started you thinking about this whole idea of evaluation? Does anybody recall the activity that we did?
The debate?
Yes. Yep, the great debate. So that should ring a bell with you now. When you think about what we were doing, that was just to sort of set the premise and get the idea that evaluation is important. All of these activities that you've participated in for our webinar today set the groundwork and helps us when we start to think about these 4 levels of evaluations. Does anybody have any questions so far just regarding the idea of what we're going to be talking about? Any comments?
No.
All right. The 4 levels of evaluation are randomly listed on the screen. In reality, though, there is a specific order for them from level 1 to level 4. Looking at them, which one of these do you think is evaluation at level 1?
The participant's reaction.
You are absolutely right. Why do you think this is considered level 1?
Because you're directly asking the participant for a reaction of how they felt about the training.
That's right. It's something that's directly right at the end of the training. You're asking them how they feel about it. What makes it a level 1 versus a level 4, do you think?
If it's just dealing with the content that you're presenting to the participants.
Yeah, even less than that. You're so close. It's just dealing with how they feel about what they were in. That's all. It's just their reactions about what they heard, what they did, who was doing it, those kinds of things. So now, with that in mind, which one do you think is level 2 evaluation?
Participant learning.
All right, and what do you think makes that a little bit higher than level 1? Participant reaction. What makes participant learning just a little bit higher than level 1?
It shows that they
they're a
have
little bit
some
more
knowledge.
Something about knowledge. Can you say that again?
It shows that they have some knowledge of the term that we're working with.
Okay. Well, we don't know what their knowledge is because it's happening right on the heels of the presentation, right? It's right at the end of, near the end of the presentation. But it is an opportunity to ask them to reflect back about what they learned about, to make some connections from one point in the training to another, and to possibly articulate what they learned about. Do you remember me talking about that in training? We can't be convinced that they've learned something. They haven't internalized it yet, have they? Usually by the end of a training. Do you agree? Yeah, the internalization isn't there, but that level 2 does help them think about what they just learned about. Do you see the difference there?
Yes.
And how important that is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, so for the trainer, those are 2 very important things to ask when you've just finished a training session with people. So which one is level 3 in your mind then, thinking at the 2 that are left?
Probably the behavioral change.
Yes, the behavior change.
Okay. I'm sorry.
You're fine. It's not going all the way down.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so you are right. Let me just get my little cursor back where it belongs. Level 3 is behavior change. What do you think behavior change means or refers to?
Is because they're doing something different back in the workplace that they have learned from the training session. So they're going back to their workplace to do something behavioral.
Okay, that's exactly right. Behavior change is looking at something that they are doing differently back in the workplace that they hadn't done prior to coming to the training. And that's also what we want to see then is this something that is looked at during the training, or is this something we as trainers and as participants will be looking at later on after the training for measuring?
Later on after the training.
Exactly. All right. Well, that leaves us with 1 to go, and that's level 4, results and impact. It's the highest level of evaluation. And so I have to ask you, what does the phrase results and impact mean to you in regard to evaluation?
Basically, did their behavior change? Are they doing something different? Did they really learn something and can implement it?
Okay, that's behavior change. That's level 3. We're saying, can they do it? Are they implementing it? How well is it going? How far along are they? Because we know they need time to implement and to actually create behavior change and then maintain it, right? That's level 3. If they are making these behavior changes, if they're doing something differently back in the workplace as adults, right? These are the adults now, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Right. If they're doing something differently back in the workplace, what results should we be seeing from that change in behavior?
You should be
Better outcomes with the children.
Possibly better outcomes with the children. What else? I heard a lot of chatter.
They'll
Well,
see
basically,
behavior changes in the children in the workplace environment.
We should be seeing some changes in something with the children, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Within the environment, maybe some changes in the environment. Anything else? I heard another voice. Did we pretty much capture it? So behavior change is the adult. That's very important for you to understand. The behavior change is on the part of the adult. The adult is going to go back and do something differently. I think you've got that, yes?
Yes.
When
Yes.
that adult does something differently, we should then be able to see and measure what impact that has on the children, okay? So results and impact is measuring what's going on with the children. Behavior change is measuring what's going on with the adult. Questions or comments?
I guess, how do we measure that in an evaluation?
Right,
The
so
changes in
that's
the children.
partly what this is about. This whole webinar is about. It's going to introduce that whole idea. How do you get information regarding behavior change, and how do you get information regarding results and impact? So that's a very good question, and that's something that we're going to continue to deal with as we move on in this webinar. So keep that in mind, all right?
Okay, thanks.
So based on what we just discussed, here's the, no, it's not. These are the 4 levels of evaluation listed below. And this is the correct order then. Level 1, participant reaction. Level 2, participants are done near the end of the workshop that you've done. Then level 3 is behavior change on the part of the adult. And results and impact, level 4, in terms of what's going on with the children. And those 2 things are done after the training has taken place. And we're going to talk about some specifics of that very soon. Okay?
Okay.
Is that clear? Those 4 levels, do they make sense?
Yes.
Any
Yes.
questions about just the ordering of them?
No.
Okay. Level 1 evaluation is participant reaction, and at this level, the trainer is seeking feedback on the training session itself, and this takes place right at the end of the workshop session. For example, a trainer may ask, what did you enjoy about the training session? Or, are you satisfied with the support materials you received? Or, how effective do you feel your trainer was? The methods for this level could be rating or ranking scales, scales of 1 to 5, effective to not effective. It could be yes, no questions like the second one. Were you satisfied? Or it could be an open-ended question like the third one, what did you, or why did you? And you get much more usable information when you ask a simple open-ended question like you see on the third example. When you say, are you satisfied with the support materials versus what did you like about the support materials, where do you think you're going to get more usable information? Are you satisfied, or what did you like about the materials?
What do you like about
What did you?
Yeah, because if you're asking, are you satisfied, generally you're going to get a yes or a no. But if you say, what did you like about the support materials, people are going to tell you, they're going to tell you what they didn't like, right?
Right.
But it's important to find out what they did like. Can they articulate it? So anytime you ask participants to articulate something, you're going to get more information than if you just ask a yes/no question or a single answer question. Very similar to when we talked about children. If we're asking children open-ended questions, we far more know how they're thinking than if we're just asking them single answer questions or yes/no questions. Level 2 evaluation is participant learning. At this level, you are asking the participants to recall what they learned about, and again, right at the end or close to the end of the training session. What do you remember me saying in our face-to-face training regarding, again, participant learning? Can you articulate it now? In terms of learning during a workshop? Do they learn something or do they learn about something?
They learn about
They could do
something.
both of them.
Yes, but we can know for a fact they learn about something. We can't know for a fact that they learn something, not at the end of the training. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay, just in terms of measuring and what we know in our own minds. So again, listed are examples of how you might phrase statements that offer participants the opportunity to articulate what they learned about. Notice one says list at least 4 out of the 6 strategies practiced. At the end of training, if you've been practicing adult-child interaction strategies, they should be able to identify some of them. And then it says identify a set of principles, the set of principles discussed. Of course, you would name that set of principles, but this is just a generic question here to show you another, open end. What's the set of principles that you discussed? Can they articulate that in writing on their evaluation? Describe 2 strategies that support the concept discussed. And again, if you were writing this out, the concept discussed would be identified, right? But I'm showing you a way to ask questions that allow the participant to let you know what they learned about. And if they can articulate it then on that paper, you can rest a little more strongly and be assured that they've carried it in their head at least throughout the workshop, all right? And that they can articulate some of the things that they learned about. The various methods for this level would be asking for lists, asking for descriptions, having them compare things, having them write a little narrative. Those are all things that suggest open-ended methods that allow you to get more information from the participant on that level 2 evaluation, which again is done near the end of your training. Level 1 and level 2 information is gathered in the closing component near the end of training. Do you know why we say near the end and not at the very end? Anybody know that? Why we do that? Why we suggest that?
Because of the practice that we're going to allow them to participate in.
Practice has already taken place. That happens in the content delivery component, which is the middle. Evaluation happens in the closing component. And what I want to know is, why is it not the last thing you do in training? Why do you have it?
You want to give them time to answer and to give you quality feedback. Have they learned anything in the training and what they've learned? Because a lot of times if you wait to the very last minute, then your participants are ready just to circle and answer anything, and they're quickly ready to go.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better, and you're just absolutely right. You said something else that reminds me. When I'm talking about these open-ended questions, 2 or 3 key open-ended questions is what you need. And those things that you have people circle, you might really want to rethink how many of those kinds of questions you want on an evaluation, because they don't give you too much information. Yes, you can have a few, but it shouldn't be your entire evaluation. Part of that evaluation should include some of these open-ended questions. Agreed?
Okay.
Any questions about that? Comments? All right, level 3 evaluation is the behavior change of the participants or the staff, the people that are in your training. This level of inquiry is about what participants are going to do differently what they are doing differently back in their workplace after the training session. At level 3, you are measuring the adult's use of new knowledge and skills in the workplace post-training, and it is done a set number of weeks after they have attended your training and had some time to practice and implement their goals, their outcomes. So this requires some kind of follow-up. And depending on the topic, you will decide as the trainer, what is that set number of weeks that I'm going to get from people? It could be as little as 2 weeks. It could be as many as 10 weeks. But the bottom line is you are going to the trainer determines what is an appropriate amount of time to practice, enough so that some measurable change can take place. You might be asking for a pre and a post list of materials that can be documented. You might be asking for a pre and a post set of photos that can be used for writing narratives with. You might be asking for a pre and post set of timed observations and narrative so that you can measure. And you notice up there it says pre and post. So keep in mind that whatever you're going to look at after the training, you should have had your participants do something on that same level before they come to training. Whether they bring photos, whether they bring narratives, whether they submit a list, it of course depends on the topic, but that you collect baseline information, which is the pre-training, and then post-training, the second set of information some weeks following when they've had a chance to practice and really work at putting that into place. It is important to identify the exact number of weeks. It's not a window. A lot of times when people hand in their assignments, they'll say between 4 and 8 weeks. That is just not appropriate. That's a whole month of time. You can't be collecting information for a month of time. You're either going to collect it 2 weeks after training, 5 weeks after training. You decide on the number of weeks, but once that is set, that's when you go collect that second set of information. So when is the first set collected for level 3?
At the training.
Nope, the first set, the pre.
Yeah.
Before the training.
Before the training, yeah. Now, when you say at the training, if it's something you've asked them to bring, it could be right there at the training that you collect that right when training starts. But once you've started your training, then whatever you collect becomes post, right? It's going to be after the training. Is that clear?
Yes.
And why do we collect before the training? Why might we have them do something before they come to training and bring those results with them?
Because you want to know what their knowledge is before the training and what they know, so that once you have the training session, then what have they picked up, what are they learning?
Okay, there's a little confusion there because the pre is not testing them on the content. That's mixed up. Okay, the pre is if I'm giving a workshop on an appropriate learning environment. Well, once they get that workshop, they can take those guidelines and go back and move their learning environment around and meet all those guidelines, right?
Right.
So I want to know what does their learning environment look like before they get the training. So I may say to them, I want each of you to submit a diagram of your current learning environment. And I would ask for that, let's just say a week before the training takes place. So now what I have from them is exactly what their learning environment looks like before they get the training. Then I give them the training and I talk about all the guidelines of a good learning environment, say for pre-operational children, right? For preschool children, right?
Right.
They get all that information. They've got a set of guidelines now. They go back to their site and, this isn't a too difficult one. Either they're going to change their room around or they're not, right? So I might say in 4 weeks, I am going to ask you to submit another diagram of what your room looks like after this training. So now, say 4 weeks post-training, I send out an email on a Monday, and I say, by Friday, please send me back, either through the mail or through email, by scanning it, a diagram of your current learning environment. Somebody writes back and says, I'm not quite done yet. That's okay. After 4 weeks, send me your current diagram. Now you have the diagram that you asked them for before the training started, and you have the diagram that you've asked them for 4 weeks after training took place. What can you do with those two sets of diagrams?
Determine what they learned, and it'll show you how they improved their learning environment. You can see the difference.
You can take every guideline that you taught them in the training or presented to them in the training and take a look, and you can look at each set of diagrams and figure out how many people were able to accomplish the first guideline, how many people accomplished the second guideline, and now you have statistics. You have, facts and figures in which to write up a report and say that training had an impact on these people and what percent of people made some changes in their learning environment regarding the guidelines that you taught them. Do you see how valuable that information is now, both pre and post?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we're after in terms of the baseline information, which is anything you collect before you do the training, and then the information that's going to show us what they've done after the training. All right, so level 4 takes this even a step further. It's looking at results and impact. This is generally in the case of what we're thinking right now for us today is that this is the results and impact on the children, basically, okay? It could be on the family, it could be on the program, but for our purposes, generally, when we're out there training, what we're looking for, what we want to offer directors is the return on their investment on the changes, the results and impact on the children in their program. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
All right.
Yeah.
For example, You might ask, has the training made a difference in outcomes for children? Has the implementation of a new skill impacted the children in any way? Has the training had any positive results for the program or the program's objectives? And then you see on the screen, you're looking for percents. Has there been a percent of decrease in children missing less days of school due to illness? So if you've done a workshop on hand washing, over time, you should see some differences. Or a percent of increase. Are children more engaged in cooperative play now that they've been to this workshop on, cooperative play in children? You should see an increase in children's engagement of cooperative play. All right, but you've got to have things to measure, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Again, percent of increase, children solving problems more independently. That would be a workshop on children's problem solving to issues. And what we're after is that children taking that initiative to be engaged in some problem solving. If you do a workshop on it and you're asking teachers to change their behavior and how they approach children in their problem solving, over some weeks, or months, I should say, it's a set of months for level 4, we should be able to measure that because the teachers have made this change in how they're helping children approach problem solving, we should see a potentially increase in children's independent problem solving. Now, the exciting thing about this, you're always seeing percents here. The increase of children's mean length of utterance in response to open-ended questions. This was an example we used in the face-to-face. If the teacher is in fact changing his or her behavior and asking more open-ended questions, less yes-no questions, and less single-answer questions, after a few months, we should be able to have a sample of children's language from before the training and a sample of their interactions some months after the training. And my guess is we should be able to figure some percents of increase on children's mean length of utterance because teachers are using more open-ended questions. Can you see the value in this information when a director is wondering how well the training has gone?
Yes, definitely.
Now, this one, level 4, is looked at a set of months after training. Let me make that clear again. It's not a window either. Not 6 to 8 months, not 2 to 4 months. So if a teacher is dealing with the learning environment, I said that we might look at what he or she has done 4 weeks later. We might look at the impact of that new learning environment on children maybe 2 months, 2.5 months later. Something like interaction strategies, adult-child interaction strategies and communication. You might look at a teacher, I'd say 8, 9, or 10 weeks. I'd specify that I want to give them a good 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months to practice really asking open-ended questions under their belt. Then maybe 4 months or 5 months later, I'm going to go back in and look and see how has that affected children's response, length of response. Okay? Does that make sense? Or do you have questions?
It does make sense, yes.
This is all new, and your heads are probably spinning about now, but that's good. And remember, from this training, our efforts are really to concentrate on level 3 and 4 because we have a pretty good grasp of level 1 and 2 in terms that most trainers are doing that. They're handing out evaluations at the end. But the predominant of trainers are not doing level 3 and level 4. Okay? So, we're going to have an opportunity to experience some online polling with this activity. And this poll gives you an opportunity to read or hear a question or an inquiry and then identify the level of that question or that inquiry. I've chosen 20 evaluation questions submitted by FET participants. I will read them one at a time. After I read them, you're going to decide what level evaluation inquiry that represents. Level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4, and then you're going to enter your vote. So does anybody have any questions what we're after? I'm going to give you a question. I'm going to read a question. You're going to decide if that question is representative of level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4, and you're going to enter your vote. Does everybody get that?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm over the phone. How's my answer?
If you're only on the phone, you will not be able to do the poll, but I will be reading each question so you can hear it. And I'll also be discussing the results of the poll so you'll know what the right answer is from me, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Do we
You
type
may
in
want
the
to go
answer?
in after this is over and watch it yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now what do I need to do? Go to the next screen here. Okay, so here we go. Everybody ready?
Yes.
Everybody? I see some yeses. Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. So I will read the question twice. Vote as quickly as you can because we want to belabor this process, okay? But think about it as well. So I'm going to read the question and you're going to decide, is that question a level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4 question? And then I'll read the question. I'll be reading the question twice, especially for folks who don't have a screen in front of them. So here we go. On a scale of 1 to 5, rate the content knowledge displayed by the trainer. On a scale of 1 to 5, rate the content knowledge displayed by the trainer.
Just hit the thing. I just clicked on it, the level 1.
Okay, pretty much 90% of the folks said that that was a level 1, and you are correct. Why is it a level 1, somebody? Tell the rest of us.
Because it's participant reaction.
That's exactly right. We're asking the participants their opinion about how they feel, how knowledgeable they feel the trainer was. Absolutely correct. Next question. What did you like best about your training experience today? Again, what did you like best about your training experience today? All right, the bulk of people, really moving around here, the bulk of people said level 1. It's gone down, down, down. What did you like best? Folks, what is that asking?
Look at the question. It's asking again.
It's asking an opinion, and if you're asking opinions of participants, what level question is it?
1.
1. That's their reaction, their opinion. So that is a level 1 question. What did you like best about your training experience today? Level 1. Next. Are you motivated to attend a follow-up session on this topic? Are you motivated to attend a follow-up session on this topic? What are we asking of participants?
For an opinion.
For an opinion. And if we're asking for an opinion, what level does that make it?
1.
Level 1.
Level 1. Okay, next. What is the percent of decrease in the use of single answer questions when talking with children at choice time? The percent of decrease in use of single answer questions by the teacher when talking with children at choice time. What is this question asking at?
The result.
Are they looking at the
level
children
3.
or the teacher?
We're looking at the teacher, so it'll be a level 3.
That is exactly right. We're looking at the teacher's behavior, percent of decrease in the use of single answer questions. The percent of decrease of what the teacher is asking. So that is a level 3. That is correct. Thank you for that clarification. Next. List current types and amounts of materials in the same areas as you identified in the pre-training area inventory. List the current types and amounts of materials in the same areas you identified in the pre-training area inventory. There's a little discrepancy here, but the bulk of you have said level 3, and you are correct. Why is it a level 3?
You're doing a pre-test.
You already did the pre.
Oh, okay.
And what are you asking them to do?
Those,
Demonstrate their change.
Yes. Now you want a current list of types and amount of materials post-training. This would be a few weeks after training, in the same areas that they identified in the pre-training inventory. So yes, this is a post-training level 3 question of the staff that went to the training. Correct. Next. That was good thinking. Was this training an effective use of your time? Was this training an effective use of your time? Well, that was quick. There you go. 100% level 1. Absolutely. Next. Was the pace of the training appropriate? Was the pace of the training appropriate? Okay, 90% said level 1, and that is right because we're still asking participants their opinion about the pace of the training. Next. If you have questions, be sure and ask. List the 3 steps an adult should use to introduce a child-initiated small group time. List the 3 steps an adult should use to introduce a child-initiated small group time. Okay, 100% at level 2. And what makes it a level 2?
You want some answers of what the participant learned.
Yep, what did they learn about today? We know that we introduced those steps, and so I'm just asking them, what are some of those steps? They haven't done them yet. They're just being asked about them. So that's level 2. Terrific. Next. I need somebody to mute their phone. Write 3 open-ended questions you might ask a child while they are engaged in play. Write 3 open-ended questions you might ask a child while they are engaged in play. Okay, the bulk of you are on level 2, now all of you so far. What tips off that this is a level 2? It is a level 2. What tips you off? How do you know it's a level 2?
it's an open-ended question.
It is, well, it kind of is open-ended. Yeah, they can write any 3 open-ended questions they want, so yes. But it says you might ask. So that suggests that you've just learned about something. This is at the end of training. You haven't done it yet, right? If you've been doing it, that would be level 3. But this is saying write 3 open-ended questions you might ask. So it is a level 2. Terrific. Next. What were 2 key learning points for you today? What were 2 key learning points for you today? What are we asking here?
We're asking what are 2 points they learned today.
What have they learned?
What have they learned about today? So that is a level 2, not a level 3. It comes at near the end of training. Next. List the verbal support strategies that encourage adult-child interaction. List the verbal support strategies that encourage adult-child interaction. A little wavering here. The bulk of you said level 2, and again, when we're asking you to list something, all that is it's near the end of training, and I want to know what they remember about the adult support strategies. So it is asking about what participants learned in the training, level 2. Next. What are 4 to 6 different book genres represented in children's books? What are 4 to 6 different book genres represented in children's books? So again, 90% of you are saying that this is a level 2, and it is. We're asking what people have learned about. There's no action here except just listing or regurgitating, if you will, something you learned about in the training that day. So this is a level 2 evaluation question. Next. Tape and tally yes, no, single answer, An open-ended question while the adult reads a book to children. Tape and tally and open-ended questions the adult is using while reading a book to children. There's an action involved in here, right?
Right.
What's the action?
To tape and tally.
Tape and tally. You would not be doing that at the end of a training. You would tape and tally an action that the adult is taking, or the child if it was level 4, that the adult is taking post-training. So, correct, 90% of you said this is level 3, and it is a level 3 question. Okay? Any questions about that? All right, next. Please rate the overall value of the training to you on a scale of 1 to 5. Please rate the overall value of this training to you on a scale of 1 to 5. Okay, we've got 100%. You've got level 1 down. Hurrah. Correct. Next one. Increased score results on the ITERS, ECHRS, or class assessment. All right, the bulk of you are saying level 4, and that is correct. This is looking at, if you've got increased score results on some assessment that you do, that is definitely looking at results and impact of some behavior change that the teacher has taken care of. So the teacher has done something differently, and there are results and impact on the child or on the program are showing on an assessment that you did. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, next. Would you recommend this training to your colleagues? Would you recommend this training to your colleagues? What are we looking for here?
An opinion.
An opinion. So this makes us a level 1, and we've got 100% on that. Next. What are 3 changes you will make based on the principles of the learning environment? Those of you who said level 2, what tipped you off that this is a level 2? What words in there specifically tip you off that it's a level 2?
Will you make?
Will you make? Congratulations. That's exactly right. It is simply asking them near the end of training, what changes do you think you'd like to make based on what you learned about? When they write down those changes, what are they telling you in terms of evaluation?
What they've learned.
Yeah, what they've learned in terms of those changes. So, yahoo for you guys. Terrific. Are we done? Okay, next. Describe the difference between verbal and nonverbal adult-child interaction strategies. Describe the difference between verbal and nonverbal adult-child interaction strategies. Again, just because that was so effective last time, what tipped you off? Those of you who said this is a level 2, what tipped you off that this is a level 2 question? And it is.
Describe the difference.
Yeah, that would be filling out an evaluation form, wouldn't it? And by having them describe the difference between the two, what does that tell you as the trainer?
What they've learned.
What they've learned.
If they understood those differences, you're going to get a really good, actually, picture on an overall view of how many people in that training are able to distinguish between verbal and nonverbal adult-child interaction strategies. And that is great feedback, okay? All right, next. Oh, that's it. All right. So, do I go take over as presenter?
Yep.
Do I click on that?
Yep.
All righty. I want to thank you for completing this goal. And we're going to take a look now at the results in terms of just a visual. You're going to see something very visual. And then I'm going to ask you a question. So just look at your screen. And this graph is a visual representation of the questions and inquiries that were submitted by participants. By just looking at this visual, what do the columns tell us? What are the implications to us as trainers? Look at the questions that
We're only training at a level 1 and 2.
No, it's not telling us that we're training at that level.
We're evaluating.
There, say that. Now say the whole sentence so people get it.
We're
You're right.
evaluating at level 1 and level 2.
Yeah, we're doing a pretty darn good job at evaluating at level 1 and 2, would you say?
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
The woman who said training, I just wanted you to make clear that we're not talking about training at this point. We're talking about, what we kind of understand an evaluation, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, and when you see just this visual, we have a lot of questions that we were able to ask and put out there that meet either level 1 or level 2 guidelines, right? For evaluation?
Yes.
All right. So why do you think this happens? Why does a graph come out looking like this with our trainers?
Say that again.
We have more trainers training at a level 1 and 2 than we do 3 and 4.
No, remember, these levels don't have anything to do with the training level. This has nothing to do with what level you're training at. This has everything to do with the kind of evaluations you're getting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
I want to just make sure everybody gets that. This does not have anything to do with whether you're advertising for a level 1 training or a level 4 training. This simply is saying that there are 4 levels of evaluation. Now, when I ask why does this happen, we have a whole lot of questions under level 1 that we are able to ask and do. We have a whole lot of questions under level 2 that we're able to ask and do. How come we have so many questions that we can put there, but not so many questions under evaluation at a level 3 and 4?
Could it be because we're not doing the follow-ups?
Yes, that is one of the reasons. Most trainers do not do the follow-up evaluation that would make us get better at doing level 3 and level 4 evaluation. Any other reasons?
Maybe we're not doing the pre either.
Well, that kind of goes hand in hand with it. You're right. That's exactly right. And the other thing is, you almost all of you, if you're training, you're handing out an evaluation at the end of your training, right?
Right.
Most of you.
Right.
So your level 1 and level 2 questions for evaluations. But you're not practiced, you're not experienced in writing questions to follow up after training for level 3 and level 4 evaluation. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions about what you see here?
No, but I kind of have a question.
Sure.
With the past trainings that I have been doing, usually TRIS has an evaluation form that they use on the eTRIS. So I had been just using that, but since I went to the face-to-face training last Saturday, I did a training last night, and I did more of the participants learning by asking them questions in that evaluation than I had in the past.
Wonderful. Chris puts out a sample evaluation that you can use, and honestly, I haven't looked at that for a long time, and it may or may not be it's probably an okay evaluation. It's not like a bad evaluation. Nothing that you've done is a bad evaluation. This training is heightening your awareness and your consciousness of doing just what you said, asking a few more open-ended questions rather than just scales and rankings, all right?
Yeah.
On your written evaluations. And then the other purpose for this is to move us past just doing an end of training evaluation and thinking about doing evaluation post-training, after the training. Okay?
So how do you recommend that we get directors and others to want to set up that kind of training for us to do the post-evaluation and,
Well, you ask a good question because, yes, it takes a little more time. Now, granted, once you get good at this, it's not going to take near the amount of time it will to kind of get this under your belt. However, as you're going to find in our assignment too, even if it took one question, I'm going to use the learning environment as an example, okay?
Okay.
So let's say it's this simple, truly, and I can help you when you get into other topics, but see if this makes some concrete sense to you. You're gonna work with a group on setting up a more appropriate learning environment for preschool children, okay? So you want to know, you're gonna want to know if that training has really made a difference in their learning environment. So 1 week before you go do that training, you simply send out an email to everybody that's coming to that training, and you ask them to submit to you, either through the mail or through email, a diagram of what their current learning environment is arranged in, okay? Just a diagram. So it's going to take you 30 seconds or a minute to send that email out, right? Or a form to go with it or whatever, a piece of paper. They're going to draw a diagram of their current learning environment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So the teachers get that. And let's say that there's 22 people registered to come to your training, and you back. Work with those 8. You've got the information back in terms of your needs assessment. But what you really want to do is you want to get a diagram from everybody that's coming to the training. And why do you want that diagram?
So you can see what it looks like afterwards.
Right, so you have something to compare it to. So it's very important that you say you put that email out and you get 8 of them back, and but you still need whatever more, 14 more. You email those 14 people and say, I need your diagrams. Please send me your diagram, so that you get as many diagrams as you can before the training starts. Okay? So let's say training starts and you have 18 diagrams. All right? Go with that. Okay? Even if you just got 8, what I'm trying to say to you is you've got your set of pre-training facts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yes. Let's say you got 8 or 10 back and you've got those. Now you do the training. Learning environment, like I said, doesn't take too long. You either go back and change your environment or you don't. So you say to them, in 3 weeks, I am going to email you. I'm going to follow up with you, and I'm going to email you again to find out what you've done with this workshop. So 3 weeks later, you send a very similar email out to all 22 participants and say, please send me a current diagram, exactly same thing you asked pre-training, right?
Yes.
Please send me a diagram of the way your current learning environment is set up. Now, it hasn't taken much to get the pre, it hasn't taken much to get the post. You give them 4 days, say, please get this back to me in 4 days. Why do I say 4 or 5 days? Or 3 to 5 days or something, very short period of time. Why?
If you give them a long period of time, they won't do it.
Yeah, if you wait too long, they're not going to get it in. So give them a specific amount of time. Please hand this back to me. So let's say when you ask them for that back, you get 10 of them back and you got 8 to begin with. Well, those 8 that you got to begin with, if those same 8 people handed that back post-training, you have a very nice set of information to compare pre-training and post-training that you can write up that report and say, like I got, you might say 22% of the people responded to the pre and post, request. That 8% of them made changes in this part of the learning environment, 12% of them made positive changes in this part of the environment, and 12% of them made positive changes in this part of the environment. And 8% may not sound like a lot, but it's better than not being able to share anything, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. And so the time involved is not all that much, but the rewards of doing that is amazing, because you can take this back to the teachers that were involved. There was an improvement of 22% of the folks that handed in my pre and post request. You can go to the trainer, to the director, and say, when we did this workshop on learning environment to date, and it's only been 2 months since the training, 22% of your staff has made an improvement, and here are the percents of improvements in various areas of the classroom. That is phenomenal information. Do you think that director might ask you back?
Yes.
Do you think those teachers might be motivated to keep working in a forward direction of having a very appropriate learning environment for the children?
Yes.
So those 2 pieces right there is worth the time that it takes. Now, you get better at this, you might ask more than one question, but if you're just learning how to do this, that one request is all you need to ask, and you will end up with information to compare and contrast and write a report. So the person who asked that question, does that answer the value in taking the time to do this?
Yes.
And does that also answer your worry that it's not hours and hours of time, but just really a little bit of time, extra time?
Yes.
All right, so let's kind of recap. Oh, I do want to go back to that one that I had there. Which are the most critical levels and why? What would be your answer to that in terms of levels of evaluation? What do you think? Which are the most critical levels and why?
3 and 4,
You're
because they
right.
have more information you need.
You got more information and other reasons. Some of you out there. Why are 3? We are really taking a stand here and say level 3 and level 4 evaluation are critical. Why are they critical?
It shows the director what the behavior changes in the staff.
There
That's what
you
she's
go.
looking for.
It shows behavior change on the part of the adult and the results and impacts on the children, which means you have increased the value and the, the tone and what's going on in that classroom. And you can prove it. You don't just stand there and say, oh, they're doing a really good job. You can prove, even if it's a 5% increase, folks, that's proof positive rather than nothing at all or just saying, gosh, they're doing a nice job. That alone should be an impetus for you to say, I want to start doing this. Okay? Thanks for that input. So, to kind of sum this up, when we think about the implications for trainers and planning for evaluation, the takeaways that I want you to have is that all 4 levels of evaluation are very what?
Important.
Good. I heard 3 people answer. Yes, all 4 levels of evaluation are very important. The first 2 are important to you when you finish training because it's some immediate feedback. But the critical pieces are 3 and 4 because you can have proof positive to directors and staff that things are happening, change is taking place, and the program is improving, and there are results and impacts to prove that. Of evaluation must be what?
Practiced.
Practiced is fine. What else do you think? Implications for trainers. All 4 levels of evaluation must be. Does it just happen overnight?
No.
Ah, I heard the word.
It must be practiced.
Must be planned.
Planned, practiced, or present.
Planned.
All of those P words worked. All 4 levels of evaluation must be planned, they must be practiced, and they should be present. Okay? Everybody cool with that?
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
And then finally, we're close to the end. I just want to find out what questions you have or what comments you would like to share in terms of this new information, which is level 3 and level 4 evaluation, and the revisited information about level 1 and level 2. What questions or comments do you have with this information, knowing now that it is an expectation of you out in the field that you start to get this under your belt?
So is it okay? I have a question. Sure. Is it okay to plan, even though most of our participants are at a level 1, is it okay to shoot for obtaining higher levels?
This has nothing to do with the level of training. At a level 1 workshop, you're still going to do an evaluation, and that evaluation is going to ask them questions about what they learned and questions about how they reacted to the training. That's level 1 and level 2 evaluation. At a level 1 workshop, that evaluation is still going to contain those 2 kinds of questions. At a level 1 workshop, you still can look at change in behavior and results of impact post-training. You're very much confusing these levels of evaluation with the levels of workshop. Okay, you've got to separate that. No matter what level workshop you give.
Okay, thank you.
You have to think about these levels of evaluation, and they can be applied to all levels of the workshop. Is that clear? And if not, feel free to email me, and we can chat about it more, or we can talk on the phone, okay?
Okay, but yes, I understand.
Okay. Anybody else? questions or comments about this process?
I think it can really affect your planning of your training to think about what you want to measure, look at beforehand and after.
You're correct.
It'll
This
affect
does
how you
start
plan.
way back in the planning process, in the
Yes.
needs assessment, because if you want that pre-information, pre-training information, you have to think of one critical question or one critical task you'd like to collect information from the participants before they get the training.
Right.
Absolutely. And it can be done in your needs assessment. It could happen there, or it could be a special request that you send out before the training. Okay? Thank you for that. Anybody else?
Well, as a former director, I think that it shows me the very importance of doing the pre and the post evaluations.
Yes.
Because I want to see, as a director, I want to see behavior changes. I don't want them to come back with the same attitudes and actions that they had before, but I want to see a change
And
in
you know,
that
you say
behavior.
that and you mean it, but we don't usually require that. And that's why I say you as trainers, if you get this process under your belt and you're out there independently training and you give this to directors, those of you, the woman who just spoke, and those of you who have been past directors or are directors, you find a trainer who's giving you this kind of, these kinds of results and reports, would you want that person back or the other person that isn't doing this at all?
I want the person that gives me the results.
Yeah, so it's going to make you a higher calibrated trainer for sure, because people are going to know you know what you're talking about, and you're going to have, again, proof positive that the teachers are beginning to do something with this instead of just attend. The return on investment is what that's all about for the director, and proving it to them that you're worth what they're paying you. Okay? Well, we are running out of time, and I want to say thank you so much for your time, attention, and participation in this training. And if you've got additional, number one, you've got an assignment. I think I skipped over that. Let's go back to that. You've got an assignment that's going to deal with these level 3 and level 4 inquiries, and that's going to be one way to practice it. Just practice. You know, don't worry about it. You're practicing. But also, like everything else that we've told you, I am available. Email me, call me. I will help you work with this during this project and even after you're done with FET. Because the last thing I want you to do is just put this on a shelf and never look at it again. Okay?